It is immoral to get rid of entitlements. That is the argument used over and over again by liberals, from the attacks on Paul Ryan's budget plan to the eternal calls for raising taxes on the rich in order to pay for the programs for the poor. But do progressives actually have it backwards? Is individual pursuit of a profit actually a more virtuous pursuit than income redistribution? Joining us now for a fair and balanced debate, we have Tom Palmer. He's Executive Vice President at the Atlas Network, a libertarian think tank, and David Callahan, Senior Fellow at the Policy Center Demos and editor of the blog PolicyShop.net, whom I've known for many years, far too many years. Tom Palmer, though, first to you, because it is a little unusual to claim that it is virtuous to pursue a profit. How so?
Well, the fact is that when people earn profits through production and free exchange in the market, it's a sign that they're adding value to the world. They make the world a better place. They're adding value, and they get rewarded as a consequence. But remember, all of their customers profited as well, because what they got was worth more to them than what they gave up. Exchange in the free market economy is a win-win situation.
And David, hold on a second, David, even Roosevelt himself, FDR, really the founder of Social Security, has said, in fact, that it was dangerous, this sense of dependency that develops among people who receive welfare for too long. So welfare can have a very negative impact on individuals, no?
Well, potentially, but let's understand.
Potentially? You don't think it does?
David, let's understand something. Capitalism needs the safety net in order to be a moral system, because capitalism has its ups and downs.
But I'm not talking about a safety net. I'm talking about entitlements gone wild, like pursuing from cradle to grave everything that a particular individual wants.
Well, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about Viagra as a part of a health care plan subsidized by the government. How about starting with that?
Well, why don't we start with food stamps, which most people are on temporarily, or start with unemployment?
But should it go to the extreme?
Temporarily.
Should it go to the extreme of paying for Viagra?
Look,
it's happening, David. It's happening now. It's not hypothetical.
What's happening now is that 14 million people do not have work. They're depending upon unemployment insurance.
But David, you just got to answer the question. How far does this entitlement creep go? How much does the government provide for individuals that perhaps they'd be better off providing for themselves?
Well, I don't think it goes far enough. The average unemployment benefit is only $300 a month. You try living on that. Food stamps is
so you should get super duper Viagra?
Food stamps is only $150.
You still haven't answered. Is Viagra within limits?
I'm not going to answer your silly question.
It's not a hypothetical. It is not a hypothetical. It is happening in areas of this country where it is worked into contracts where individuals get Viagra as part of their agreements.
Yeah, Viagra bad for.
Okay, at least we got that. Tom, how far would you go? Because even Ronald Reagan said there should be some kind of safety net that the government should provide for.
Well, that's a different matter, but what Mr. Callahan is really talking about, his real topic of defense, is these staggering unfunded liabilities that are going to crush future generations. Medicare, Social Security, the prescription drug benefit, which is what you're talking about here with the Viagra case. These are staggering entitlements, and quite frankly, what they've done is to make the middle class dependent.
Put forth by Republicans with a Republican president, so this is bipartisan. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, absolutely. They're both parties of big government in this regard. And what they tried to do is to buy votes from people by saying you get a big benefit now, and the bill, we're going to kick the can down the road. Let future generations pay for it. The unfunded liabilities that we have racked up with this entitlement state are staggering. They are gigantic. What we consistently hear is people come forward and defend them and say, oh, we're talking about food stamps. That's actually small change in this case.
David, go ahead.
It's the gigantic middle-class entitlements that are bankrupting the country, and it's pure political corruption, trying to buy people off so they'll vote for them.
Got you. Go ahead, David.
Well, I think the safety net is not generous enough. There's many people who are still living in poverty. There's a lot of elders who are still living in poverty despite Social Security. Those unemployment benefits are not generous enough. I think we're involved in a serious debate about how to reform the system, but I think there is consensus that the safety net is important.
Is there no harm?
It makes capitalism
the safety net is one thing, but is there no harm at all that you see from the government spending too much, trying to be too careful, trying to protect us from cradle to grave?
I think that there's very little harm compared to the benefits. You know, look, this whole framework of takers versus
makers versus takers.
This is an insulting framework. Any of us could become a taker tomorrow.
You're absolutely right.
You walk out and get hit by
David, you're absolutely right. And that's the danger, is that any of us could fall into that dependency where you feel like you can't get along without the state caring for you. That's the problem.
If you don't have a job and you need unemployment, that is not dependency. When you get your job, when you get a job back, you're no longer on unemployment.
All right,
that's
but
not
as long as there are things like government-supported Viagra, I think we've gone too far.